Top 10 Most Powerful Gemstones in Norse Mythology. Gems in Norse mythology aren't just beautiful or valuable. They're sacred vessels of power, woven into the fates of gods, giants, and mortals alike. These stones carry the weight of thunder, the glint of fate, and the glow of ancient realms beyond Midgard. In this journey, we venture into the icy mists of Norse legend to uncover 10 of the most potent gemstones, each steeped in myth, magic, and meaning. Remember to press and hold the like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Ranked 10th, Rune-Crystal of Yngvi, Stone of Secrets and Song. There are crystals you can cut, weigh, and sell. And then there is the Rune-Crystal of Yngvi, a stone that exists not in the geological chart, but in the rhythms of myth and memory. It is not found in mines or rivers, but in the pause between a rune being carved and a truth being spoken. This mythical crystal, shaped not by the pressure of the earth, but by intention, is a unique wonder. It was breathed into shape by Yngvi Freyr, the god of fertility, peace, and poetic rhythm. Unlike stones that shine or burn, the rune crystal sings. It does not glow with light, it resonates with meaning. Its surface is engraved with runes that reveal themselves only in moonlight or spiritual light, as if sung into existence by the universe itself. If we could measure it in units, it would weigh not carats or grams, but centuries. It would vibrate not at megahertz frequencies, but somewhere between the hum of ancient trees and the silence of falling snow. This is not a crystal of power, but a crystal of pattern, a tuning fork for the human spirit. When held in the hands of a seer, it does not flicker or heat up. It listens. It hears the rhythm beneath your words, the code behind your choices, and reflects the runes you have lived without ever realizing it. The rune crystal is Yngvi's gift to help mortals remember their music. It is not for sale. It is not even always visible. But those who know say it may already be humming in your bones, waiting for the right story to awaken it. Ranked 9th. Sunstone of Sol, the light that cannot lie. It is said that sunlight does not lie. It does not negotiate with the dark. It simply reveals. And no gemstone captures the purity of truth like the legendary Sunstone of Sol, a glowing relic said to have been forged at the first dawn, carried in the heart of the Norse sun goddess herself. Sol, in Norse cosmology, is a goddess bound to a fiery chariot, racing across the sky to outrun the cosmic wolf, Skuld, who yearns for the end of days. She is a symbol of unwavering light and resilience. But every myth about her has one common thread. Sol never fails. Her light never dims. And that is where the idea of her sunstone comes in. If we could measure it, I would put its brightness at around 12,000 lumens. Bright enough to bathe a battlefield in clarity or expose the unspoken in a silent room. It is warm to the touch, but never hot. About 102 degrees Fahrenheit, like the skin of a truth-teller under pressure. Some say it flickers when it points north, keeping the wearer on the right track, like a mythical compass united with a conscience. Symbolically, the Sunstone of Sol is more than illumination. It is a responsibility. It is the light we all carry, and sometimes fear. It does not judge, but it demands that we see. This gemstone is a transparent certainty in mythology steeped in fate, chaos, and the ambiguity of prophecy. It is a beacon of what is when everything else slips into what might be. It stands as a testament to the power of truth, inspiring us to seek and uphold it. In modern mineral terms, it is said to act like a cross between Icelandic spar calcite and yellow sunstone, refracting light so strongly that it can split illusions. The gemstone you wear not for beauty, but for connection. So if you feel lost or worse, surrounded by truths that seem too quiet, imagine Sol's sunstone above, not to blind you, but to remind you, truth does not burn, it illuminates. Ranked 8th. Black Onyx of Hel, silence of the shadow realm. Some stones sparkle, others humming, but the black onyx of Hel does neither. It waits. In Norse mythology, Hel is the daughter of Loki and the ruler of the shadow realm, a world beneath all worlds, where those who usually die quiet deaths are received, not with cruelty or warmth, but with something far more eternal: stillness. And that's precisely what her gemstone embodies. Not darkness, not dead, but the truth of what remains after everything else is stripped away. The black onyx of Hel is imagined as a smooth, weighty stone, matte, not glossy. It is cold, but not from temperature, from memory. If you held it, I'd estimate its surface around 45 degrees Fahrenheit, just chilly enough to jolt awareness into your palm, like stepping into a cave where time forgot to pass. This isn't a gem you wear to impress. It doesn't dance with light, it consumes it. Jewelers today might compare its behavior to pure onyx or jet, but this mythical onyx doesn't sit on a ring. It anchors souls. Legends say the black onyx of Hel absorbs emotion like the ocean swallows sound. It doesn't dull pain, it translates it. If you lie while holding it, your words come out silent. If you grieve near it, the grief gets cleaned, sharper, stripped of stories. It's a stone that doesn't echo because nothing needs to be said twice in Hel's realm. The black onyx of Hel doesn't call attention to itself. It doesn't want your worship. It only wants your silence and your willingness to be still long enough to hear what only silence can say. Ranked 7th, Obsidian of Surtur, Blade of the Enflame. In the mythology of the Norse apocalypse, Ragnarok, there is a figure who doesn't speak, reason, or forgive. Surtur, the fire giant. He doesn't carry a weapon of gold or steel. He holds something far more ancient, a blade forged not in heat but in eruption, a sword of obsidian. Obsidian is not a crystal. It's a volcanic glass formed when lava cools so quickly that it forgets how to become stone. Its structure is chaotic, unorganized, almost rebellious. There are no cleavage planes and no predictable fracture, just sharp, fast, and permanent. If you break it right, obsidian edges can reach sharpness within 3 nanometers. That's sharper than surgical scalpels. Ancient people used it to cut flesh, shape rituals, and, in some traditions, split souls. So when myth says Surtur's blade ends the world, I believe it. Because obsidian doesn't just cut matter, it cuts through time. In modern mineralogy, we call it an amorphous silicate. But in mythology, its truth is crystallized by destruction. Surtur's obsidian doesn't glow. It devours. His sword doesn't guide. It consumes. And when he raises it at the end of days, it's not just to burn the world, it's to reset the code. If other stones speak in symbols, the obsidian of Surtur speaks silently. It doesn't invite worship, it demands witness, and maybe that's what makes it so powerful. Not because it ends stories, but because it ensures they never return the same way twice. Ranked 6th, Blood Garnet of Tyr, Stone of Sacred Sacrifice. We're talking about the Blood Garnet of Tyr, a stone as unwavering as honor and crimson as the cost it demands. In Norse mythology, Tyr was the only god who dared to do what none others would: place his hand into the jaws of Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, knowing he would never get it back. It was a sacrifice not made in panic or desperation, but in absolute conviction. No hesitation, no plea, just quiet strength, offered with purpose, accepted with pain, and sealed in silence. That's what this garnet carries. Not pain, but clarity. Physically, garnet ranks about 6.5 to 7.5 on the Mohs hardness scale. Rigid enough for battle, but brittle if struck wrong. A perfect mirror to the god it's named for. Solid, but never invulnerable. Blood Garnet of Tyr as a cabochon cut, not faceted. It doesn't need angles. Its strength is in its weight, not its flash. Hold it in your palm and you'd feel a grounding pull, about 40 grams, maybe the weight of a clenched fist. Or the moment before you say, I'll do it, when no one else will. Unlike most protective stones, this garnet doesn't shield you from harm. It reminds you who you are when you choose to face it. It's not armor, it's an oath. And it's not just about courage in battle, but about the more complex kind, the courage to give something up when no one's watching. This is a gemstone of quiet resolve in a world that often rewards noise. Ranked 5th, Moonstone of Skadi, Light of the Winter Hunt. In Norse mythology, Skadi is the goddess of winter, the high mountains, and the silent hunt. She doesn't rule with fire or prophecy. She governs through stillness, solitude, and precision. Her gemstone, imagined as a moonstone unlike any found in vaults or rings, doesn't sparkle to be admired. It glows from within, low, cold, and unwavering, like the last pale light over a snow-covered ridge before the world turns to shadow. Geologically, moonstone is a feldspar exhibiting a dualiscence, that mysterious, ghost-like shimmer that seems to drift beneath its surface. But the Moonstone of Skadi goes deeper. It doesn't just reflect moonlight, it remembers it. If you held it in your palm, it might register around 28 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to tighten your breath, not from discomfort, but from awareness. Cut smooth and oval, like a hunter's talisman worn against the chest. Its surface doesn't dazzle. It focuses. It filters illusion. It clarifies. Symbolically, Skadi's stone represents control, not of others, but of self. It carries the energy of those who move unseen through the snow, whose power lies not in being praised, but in being precise. This isn't a stone for decoration. It's a stone for decision, a crystal of calm under pressure, silence before the shot, and sovereign solitude. In modern mineral terms, it might resemble blue moonstone or rainbow moonstone under Arctic twilight. But in essence, it is pure Skadi, distant, beautiful, and unshakable. Ranked fourth, Ice Opal of Creation, birthstone of the nine realms. Before the gods had names, before the first tree ever reached the sky, there were two primal forces in Norse cosmology, fire and ice. One is from Muspelheim, and the other is from Niflheim. And where they collided, where flame met frost in a roar of creation, something impossible happened. From the void came form. From chaos came the nine realms. Unlike volcanic stones or mineral-rich crystals, the ice opal is imagined as a cosmic byproduct, the frozen shimmer left behind from the very act of existence becoming real. It doesn't just reflect light, it remembers Genesis. It carries within its translucent body the ghost of impact, the moment fire surrendered its rage ice, gave up its stillness, and the universe took its first breath. Geologically, opals are non-crystalline. They're hydrated silica, a mineraloid, not a mineral, made of millions of tiny spheres that diffract light. That's what gives them their iridescence, their play of color. But the ice opal of creation goes beyond science. It's imagined to hold within it fragments of both opposites, warmth and cold, structure and surrender, fire and ice. If you could hold it, and no mortal ever has, you'd feel its temperature fluctuate between 33 degrees Fahrenheit and 98 degrees Fahrenheit, never fully settling, like it can't decide whether to melt or freeze in your hand. Its weight is surprisingly light, maybe 8 grams, no heavier than a snowflake's echo or a secret you've never spoken aloud. The ice opal doesn't shine with color like a rainbow. It pulses with origin. In dim light, it glows faintly blue. In full moonlight, it reveals a shifting storm of silver and ember, as if it remembers every beginning it ever witnessed. Symbolically, this is not a stone of stability, it's a stone of becoming. It doesn't ground you, it unsettles you in the best way. It stirs what's dormant. It whispers, the world was born from contradiction. So were you. Ranked third, Starlight Sapphire of Odin, the eye that sees all. Most gemstones are prized for their beauty, for catching the light and dazzling the eye. But the Starlight Sapphire of Odin is revered for something more significant, what it understands. In Norse mythology, Odin, the Allfather, willingly gave up one of his eyes to drink from Mimir's well, the ancient source of all wisdom. It wasn't sight he sought, but insight, the kind that sees beyond appearances and time into the fabric of truth itself. That act wasn't just a transaction, it was a transformation. In the eye he gave, according to legend, it did not vanish. It crystallized. It became a sapphire, not formed on earth, but in the silence between stars. It's not a stone that sparkles, it witnesses. While most gems reflect light outward, this one seems to absorb, hold, and look back. Star sapphires are formed when fine rudal inclusions align perfectly within the corundum, creating a 6-rayed star that glides across the surface when caught in direct light. But Odin's sapphire is different. The star isn't on the surface, It lives within. If you could hold it, it would be just under 0.9 inches wide, about the size of the eye it replaced, deep indigo in color, cool at around 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and laced with silver fractures like constellations trapped in stone. When held under the night sky, it doesn't reflect the stars. It remembers them. The Starlight sapphire isn't a gem of beauty. It's a gem of consequence. It doesn't show the future. It reveals what we've refused to see. Symbolically, it stands for the price of clarity, losing part of yourself to gain the truth of the world. It's not a stone you wear. It's a stone that watches you back. Ranked second, Labradorite, stone of the shifting veil. Most stones are admired for their surface. Labradorite doesn't care about the surface. It waits for the moment you tilt it, just right, and then suddenly it shifts. Blue turns to gold, green turns to violet, and for a second you're not just looking at a stone, you're looking through a veil. If the Norse cosmos had a gemstone to represent its boundary between realms, between Midgard and Asgard, light and shadow, known and unknown, it would be Labradorite. No other mineral mimics the Bifrost, the mythical rainbow bridge, as perfectly as this one. Labradorite belongs to the feldspar group and displays a phenomenon called labradorescence, an iridescent optical effect that appears only when internal structures catch the light at the perfect angle. It looks gray, plain, almost dead. That makes it not a gemstone of constant beauty, but of conditional revelation. An ideal symbol for knowledge, vision, and truth that only arrives when you're ready. It weighs roughly 20 to 30 grams per palm stone, but it feels heavier, not in mass but in mystery, like it's holding a memory not yet yours. Labradorite is called the stone of transformation in folklore and metaphysics, but that's not quite it. Transformation implies a change from A to B. Labradorite is something else, recognizing that both A and B were always inside you. It's not a stone that guides you forward. It brings you into the space between what you were and what you could become. It's said to awaken intuition, enhance psychic sight, and guard the aura. But those are just words until you hold one under candlelight and see an entire aurora flare up from inside a chunk of gray rock. That's not just energy. That's a myth. That's movement between worlds. In first place, Brísingamen Gem, amber or fire gold, the heart of desire. In the world of gems, some stones dazzle, stones that protect, stones that remember. But once in 1,000 myths, there comes a stone that does something different. And Brísingamen, the legendary necklace of Freya, goddess of love, war, and divine will, is not just a piece of treasure, but a gravitational force, a fire suspended in amber. A hunger turned radiant. It's said to have been crafted by 4 dwarven smiths, Brock, Alfrig, Dvalin, and Burling, in the caverns of the 9 realms. But make no mistake, this was not an object made of gold alone. The ancient Eddas hint that the true core of Brísingamen was something far rarer, an amber heart warm to the touch, lit from within, glowing like fire trapped inside tree sap. Geologically, amber isn't a mineral. It's fossilized resin, organic, ancient, and paradoxically alive. Most pieces are between 30 and 90 million years old. Lightweight, around 1.1 grams per cubic centimeter, and capable of holding static energy when rubbed. The Greeks once thought amber to be solidified sunlight. But this amber, Brísingamen's amber, it has something far more volatile, desire in its purest form. Freya wore it not as an ornament, but as a weapon. In battle, in seduction, in mourning, the gem pulsed. Some said it shimmered in gold. Others said it burned red when her rage was high. And in the rarest moments, when love and power collided, it glowed clear, like melted glass on fire. Why does this gem sit at the top of the list? Because Brísingamen represents the original tension that fuels every myth, the pull between want and will, chaos and control, beauty and sacrifice. While other stones give protection, clarity, or vision, Brísingamen awakens choice. It asks, what do you want so deeply you'd burn for it? And then, it makes you answer. Amber in this context isn't passive, it's volatile. It stores time, heat, and memory. And in Freya's hands, it stores power too ancient for measurement. In modern gemology, we'd classify this material under succinite, with a Mohs hardness of about 2.0 to 2.5 and a specific gravity of 1.05 to 1.10. But no chart can measure a gem that moves gods. True power doesn't roar in Norse mythology. It lingers in silence, waiting to be felt rather than seen. It hums quietly through the earth's bones, woven into stone, igniting myths of sacrifice, fate, fire, and light. These 10 gemstones aren't simply relics of legend. They are thresholds where ancient geology brushes against the divine. They don't sit atop golden thrones, but live in the quiet spaces between story and symbol, between what is told and what is sensed. So, which of these sacred stones spoke to you? Let us know in the comments. And if you felt the hum of something timeless, be sure to like and subscribe. More myth, more magic, and more mystery await.